My wife was 3 months pregnant, and she still went street racing with her old flame. After the crash, she was in a vegetative state, and he just sneered at me. She's your wife. It's your job to take care of her. What's it got to do with me? Damn bad luck is what it is. But my wife's soul was floating right next to us, staring at him in utter disbelief. When she finally woke up, he was the first to rush to her side, his eyes red with tears. Babe, I've been taking care of you day and night. Finally, it wasn't all for nothing. My wife, Ava, was lying in the hospital bed, covered in blood. At 3 months pregnant, she had lost the baby. It happened tonight. She went street racing with Caleb Vance, the one that got away, and they crashed. Now she was in a coma, and the doctors said the best-case scenario was a persistent vegetative state. And her first love? He was standing by her bed, looking at me with a cold smirk. This has nothing to do with me, so don't even think about pinning it on me. Some other car hit us. If that's all, I'm leaving. My voice trembled with rage. Ava hasn't forgotten you for a single day all these years. She gets in a crash with you, and now, when she needs you the most, you're just going to walk away? Caleb's lips twisted into a smile. She's your wife. It's your job to take care of her. What's it got to do with me? Damn bad luck. He added another dagger. You think I love her? I was just having fun. If she wasn't bankrolling me, who'd want sloppy seconds? I swung. My fist connected squarely with his jaw. Are you even human? Ava's in a coma, and your child is gone. Caleb wiped a smear of blood from his lip, his eyes full of scorn. A child? I've already got 3 others. I'm not exactly short on them. It's better that Ava's in a coma. She had a living will notarized. If she dies, her company goes to me and our child. Now that the kid's gone, if she dies too, the entire inheritance is mine. Ha ha. As he spoke, a sudden chill crept up my spine. I instinctively looked over my shoulder and froze. Ava was floating toward us. It looked like her soul. Her face was a mask of disbelief. She drifted to Caleb's side, her voice a ghostly whisper. Caleb, what's wrong with you? Didn't you say you love me more than anything? How can you turn on me like this? No, you're lying. Caleb, completely unaware, continued his cold rant. That idiot Ava. I got bored of her back in the day, so I just left. Now this is perfect. She's the one leaving first. Hilarious. Ava's eyes widened. She lunged, her hands reaching for Caleb's throat, but her spectral form passed right through him. She stared at her own transparent hands, a silent, tearless scream on her face. Then, her gaze fell on me, a mocking smile forming on her lips. Happy now? We've been married for 3 years, and I never gave you the time of day. Now I'm dying, and you're finally free, right? I acted as if I couldn't hear her. I silently wrung out a warm washcloth and began to gently clean the blood from the face of the woman in the bed, her body. She froze, her spectral form recoiling. Don't you touch me, you pathetic simp, she shrieked. I haven't let you touch me in 3 years of marriage. Get the hell away from me. As I wiped her hands, my mind drifted back over those 3 long years. The truth is, I never loved Ava either. I only married her because of my mother's illness. 3 years ago, my mom was diagnosed with a terminal disease that came with astronomical medical bills. I was just a clerk at Sterling Corporation, and my monthly salary was a drop in the ocean. That's when Arthur Sterling, the CEO and Ava's father, approached me. He told me his daughter's severe depression had relapsed, and she needed emotional support. He offered me $2 million in medical expenses if I would be her husband for 3 years. I had no other choice. I agreed. On our wedding day, Ava cut the cake with a Cartier diamond ring on her finger. A smudge of buttercream landed on the sleeve of my rented tuxedo. You gotta dig in while the gold is hot, she'd whispered, plucking the decorative flower from my lapel. Just a hick from the sticks. I have no idea what my dad sees in you. Don't you dare try to control me, or you'll regret it. That night, I moved into the mansion. The head housekeeper replaced all the bedding right in front of me. Miss Sterling wants you to sleep in the guest room, she said, holding the cheap nylon bag that contained my clothes at arm's length. We don't want any pests from where you came from. Try not to bring any diseases in here. Meanwhile, Ava was posing on the sweeping spiral staircase, posting a photo to her Instagram story. The caption read, "Happy wedding day. My husband is a dog." At the first family dinner, Ava's cousin poured a glass of Macallan 18 into my soup bowl. Drink up, brother-in-law. A bottle of this costs more than your family makes in a decade. The porcelain spoon scraped jarringly against the bottom of the bowl. Ava stepped on my foot under the table and giggled. Don't you know the rule? Dogs don't eat at the table. For 3 years, she treated me with nothing but contempt, with frequent insults and shoves. I endured it all. I had to be a man of my word. Her father gave me the money, and I played the part of her husband. I just never imagined that right as our 3 years were almost up, she'd end up like this. The sharp click of high heels echoed from the hallway. Chloe Reed, Ava's personal assistant, pushed the door open. She was carrying a bouquet of flowers, her face a perfect portrait of grief. Ava, oh, Ava, are you awake? My heart is breaking. I can't stand it. If something really happened to you, what would I do? She sobbed. Chloe's performance was flawless, every bit the devastated best friend. Ava's soul drifted towards her, trying to embrace her, but passed right through. Chloe, I'm not dead, she whispered, tears streaming down her spectral face. You're the only one who still cares about me. I'm so touched. But then, Caleb's voice cut through the air. You can stop the act. She can't hear you. She's a vegetable. Chloe's eyes lit up. Her expression shifted instantly. She shot Caleb an annoyed look. Well, you could have told me sooner. I had to use eye drops for this. So annoying. Both Ava and I stared, stunned. What was going on? How could she change so fast? Chloe casually tossed her Hermes bag onto the ventilator machine. The diamond on her left ring finger scraped across Ava's nose as she sneered. Well, Ava, look at you now. I was thinking of buying you flowers, but it looks like you won't be needing them. Maybe I should order you a custom urn from the funeral home's new collection. Ava was frozen in midair, staring at Chloe in disbelief. I ignored them, wringing out the washcloth and continuing to clean Ava's hand. Her wedding ring was loose on her finger. Chloe suddenly leaned over and poked Ava's sunken cheekbone. Wow, the collagen is just gone. Your skin feels like sandpaper. She turned to Caleb and winked. Caleb, honey, didn't you say last night my skin was smooth as silk? Giggle. That's because I get regular facials. Not like Ava here. At this point, even putting drugstore lotion on her would be a waste. Ava's soul flew into a rage, launching herself at Chloe, screaming, Chloe, you backstabbing snake. How did you get together with Caleb? You were both lying to me. Of course, Chloe couldn't hear her. She stretched languidly. God, it was so exhausting pretending to be your friend every day. You, with your constant demands and arrogance. You finally got what you deserved, and it feels so good. Let me tell you a secret. Caleb and I have been together for a long time. Surprise! Isn't that exciting? Seeing she couldn't harm Chloe, Ava calmed down, a stream of spectral tears falling as she murmured to herself. Chloe, we were best friends for so long. Is this how you repay me? I loaned you money when you were broke. I got your job. Your whole family depends on the life I gave you. How could you betray me? I finally looked up. Both of you get out. I said, my voice flat. Ava needs to rest. She can't hear anything right now. Chloe scoffed. Look at the whipped dog, acting all devoted. She can't see it. So what's the point? You were so good to her for 3 years, and she still cheated on you, didn't she? Ava's soul frowned, looking at me for the first time with a flicker of something other than contempt. Chloe suddenly ripped open my collar, exposing the 10-centimeter scar below my collarbone. That night Ava got drunk, and some client got handsy. You took a switchblade for her. 18 stitches, and you told her you just fell. Was it worth it? Caleb let out a dark chuckle. Didn't you get a $3,000 Good Samaritan reward for that? This idiot was so scared Ava would find out, he didn't even dare to collect the money. Ava stared in shock at the scar on my chest. She floated closer, her voice trembling. You took that knife from me, but Caleb told me he was the one who saved me. That liar. And the hurricane last year was even better, Chloe continued, pulling out her phone and playing a security video. On the screen, I was standing soaking wet outside the ICU window. Ava had a post-op infection and needed a rare Rh-negative blood type. You donated 800 CCS and passed out right there at the blood bank. She yanked up my sleeve, revealing the needle track scar. The nurse said, any more and you'd go into shock, but you made her draw from your jugular vein. And for what? Did Ava ever give you a second look? Ava's gaze shot down to the scar on my arm. She bit her lip, whispering in despair. It was you who gave me blood. And Caleb, he told me he had to beg on his knees to get it from me. I was so moved. It was all a lie. Caleb looked at me with disdain. You could write a romance novel with all this stuff. They say love can create miracles. Let's see if your love can wake her up. You stupid mutt. Chloe linked her arm through Caleb's. Let's go, honey. This room smells like death. Caleb patted her hand, then shot me a venomous look. Be at the attorney's office tomorrow. I'm getting a head start on Ava's inheritance. If you're not there, I'll finish both of you. After they left, I continued to gently clean Ava's body. Her soul just watched me, her ghostly voice a constant murmur. Are you laughing at me? I know I treated you terribly for these 3 years. I never knew. I never knew you did all that for me. How could I have been so stupid, so blind? I couldn't tell the difference between a monster and a good man. I didn't look at her. I had no feelings for Ava. The 3-year contract was almost over. Soon I'd be gone. 5 the next day, just as he promised, Caleb dragged me to an estate lawyer's office. He slapped a form to declare a person legally dead on the desk. For some reason, Ava's soul had followed us and was still drifting around nearby. Article 37 of the state's Inheritance Code for incapacitated persons, the lawyer said, pushing his glasses up his nose. The inheritance process can only be initiated upon confirmation of brain death or natural death. Furthermore, you're not a legal family member of the patient. This is invalid. Caleb kicked over a metal trash can in the hallway. He turned to me, a twitch in his jaw. You go pull her plug right now. I'll give you 10% of Ava's estate. Ava's soul looked at me, her eyes filled with a strange, pleading light. I looked Caleb straight in the eye. Caleb, that's murder. That's a crime. I won't do it. To hell with it being a crime, he snarled, his fists clenching, his eyes bloodshot. When she was conscious, she always said she wanted to die in my arms. She loved me that much. She wanted me to have everything. All you have to do is lift a finger, and it'll all be mine. He saw I wasn't budging and grabbed my collar. You're a kept man. Don't you like money? Don't give me that crap about loving her. I'll give you 30%. That's got to be enough, right? I pulled his hands off me. I wouldn't do it if you gave me all of it, I said calmly. Give it up. I turned and walked away. In less than a month, the 3 years would be over. After I leave, I thought, you all can do whatever you want. It has nothing to do with me. But Ava's soul followed me back to the hospital. She buzzed around my ear. Why didn't you agree to pull the plug? You'd be free too. Now, do you really love me that much? I'm so sorry. I regret everything. I didn't look at her. But when I heard that apology, a small, contemptuous smile touched my lips. 6 when Ava's soul landed, I returned to the room. Her father, Arthur Sterling, was there, polishing her wedding ring with a velvet cloth. Behind him stood a young woman in a pale gray pantsuit. This is Julia, head of administration at the company, Arthur said, placing the ring back on the medical tray. The metallic clink startled a bird on the windowsill. He turned to me with a weary smile. You've worked hard taking care of Ava for 3 years. Once this is all over. He gently patted Julia's back. You two should get to know each other. Julia handed me a Starbucks cup. I took it automatically. Ava's soul froze in midair. Dad, she cried in anguish. I'm still breathing. I'm alive. How dare you let another woman near my husband? I forbid it. She whirled on Julia. You bitch, get out of here. Don't you dare go near my husband. But neither of them could hear her desperate pleas. I frowned. Mr. Sterling, Ava's EEG shows no chance of recovery, he finished, flipping through the latest nurse's chart. What did the specialist say last night? Best case is a permanent vegetative state. I failed as a father. I know how Ava has treated you these past 3 years. The Sterling family owes you an apology. He turned to Julia. Bring me the transfer agreement for the Lake Geneva Resort. Arthur Sterling uncapped a fountain pen and pointed the nib at the blank beneficiary line. Once Ava is at peace, you will receive a 30% stake in the resort plus 2 of the villas. Consider it compensation. Ava trembled, staring at her father in disbelief. Julia, meanwhile, stepped closer to me, a faint blush on her cheeks. Leo Rossi. It's been a long time. I was surprised she knew me. She smiled. You were my role model in college. After graduation, I heard about what happened. You're talented and you're a family man. I've always admired you. I pursed my lips, unsure what to say. Ava's soul swooped toward Julia, trying to claw at her, but her hands passed right through. Her voice was a choked sob. "You're all ganging up on me. I don't want to die. I really don't want to die." But her cries were drowned out by the sound of my own heart, beating a little too fast. 7 that night, Caleb and Chloe snuck back into the room. He walked straight to Ava's bed, his hand reaching for the plug on her ventilator. I blocked him. "You pathetic simp," he hissed. "Don't get in my way, or you'll regret it." Chloe added with a sneer, "You probably don't know what Caleb is capable of. Even this car crash was his." A sharp look from Caleb cut her off. She scurried out of the room, locking the door behind her. Caleb lunged for the ventilator. I threw myself in his way, and we started a fight, crashing against the medical equipment. Ava's soul was frantic, her screams useless. Suddenly, the heart monitor beside the bed began to fluctuate wildly, and in the exact instant that Caleb's hand finally ripped the tube from the machine, Ava's soul was sucked back in her body like a magnet snapping into place. A second later, her eyes fluttered open. Her eyelashes trembled as she looked at us, her expression dazed. Caleb's face went white, his pupils shrinking in shock. After a moment, his voice came out, shaking. "Babe, you're finally awake. Am I taking care of you day and night? It wasn't for nothing. Do you know how worried I was?" The fake sob in his voice made my ears ring. He dropped to his knees by the bed, his expensive watch clattering against the metal guardrail. "I haven't slept a wink these past few days. Thank God you're awake. I don't think I could have lived without you." His pitiful expression was almost convincing, but Ava's eyes slowly focused on my face. The intubation tube in her throat moved with each breath. I reached for the nurse call button, but she suddenly grabbed my wrist, her grip surprisingly strong. The forestand wobbled violently. Her nails dug into the scabs on my arm, as if trying to rip open the old wounds. Caleb frowned, leaning close to Ava's ear. "Ava, that guy Leo disappeared for days. He only showed up today to take care of you, putting on this whole act. It's disgusting." Ava's eyes shifted to Caleb. The look in them reminded me of a cow in a slaughterhouse. Not fear, but a calm so profound it was terrifying. Caleb's crocodile tears were still on his cheeks. He grew uneasy under her stare. His eyes darted around, and he ran out of the room, returning a moment later with a thermos. The scent of chicken soup and his overpowering cologne filled the room. Ava started coughing violently. As I helped her sit up, she clutched the hem of my shirt, shrinking into me. "Babe, drink this while it's hot," Caleb cooed, scooping up a spoonful and blowing on it. The face of his gold watch glinted in the moonlight. I waited at the restaurant downstairs for 5 hours for this. The clay pot practically cracked. Ava suddenly swatted the bowl from his hand. The scalding soup splashed all over his custom-tailored suit. He yelped and jumped back like a scalded cat, but forced a pained smile. It's okay. I'll go make more." "Sorry," Ava said, her voice raspy. My hand slipped. She leaned back against the pillows, her pale face lost in shadows. Then, she looked up at me and smiled. "Honey," she said, "I want you to make me some oatmeal." The thermos in Caleb's hand crashed to the floor. "Ava, you're awake. Thank God. I can finally see you again." Chloe's high heels stopped dead in the doorway. Her expression was a magnificent mess of shock, panic, and fear. Ava ignored her, instead wrapping her arms around my neck, her lips brushing my rigid jawline. "Feed me, honey. I'm hungry." Her gaze flickered to Chloe's instantly pale face. A cold smile played on her lips. "I thought they said the best ICUs were so clean, not even a fly could get in. Why does it smell like a bitch in here?" Chloe's carefully drawn eyeliner began to run. She tugged frantically at Caleb's sleeve. "What's happening? How is she awake?" I had no time for their drama and turned to call a doctor. Ava grabbed my hand again, her eyes filled with regret. "Honey, don't go." She looked up at me, and for a second, I saw her on our wedding day, 3 years ago, when she'd shoved my hand away and sneered, "Don't touch me." Now, she clung to me like a drowning woman. "Don't leave. Stay with me." As I finally pressed the call button, I noticed that her wedding ring was somehow now on my finger. The sound of Caleb's frantic explanations was cut off by the slowly closing automatic door. Chloe's Louis Vuitton bag was caught in the gap, its crocodile skin cracking under the pressure of the closing mechanism. After waking up, Ava refused to let me leave her side. Even when her father and Julia arrived, she just tightened her grip on my hand, her eyes glaring daggers at Julia. Arthur Sterling just nodded, patted my shoulder with a look of relief, and led Julia away. In the days that followed, Ava was like a different person. She was completely attached to me, refusing to let me go anywhere without her. She spent hours on the phone, canceling legal notices and hiring private investigators to dig into Caleb's life. Meanwhile, the end of our 3-year contract was fast approaching. I had already spoken to her father. The day it was up, I would file for divorce and leave Ava for good. He had agreed. On the 21st day after Ava woke up, Caleb arrived with a bouquet of white roses, still wet with morning dew. He placed them in a vase, their petals brushing against the wires of the heart monitor. "Look, Ava," he said, his voice loud and deliberate. "Snow roses, flown in from Switzerland. I trimmed every single one myself." Ava's finger paused as she swiped through her tablet. A security video was frozen at 2 minutes and 37 seconds before the crash. Caleb's twisted, smiling face filled the screen. She looked up, her eyelashes casting a spiderweb of shadows on her pale face. "You didn't trim the thorns properly." "What?" Caleb's hand tightened, his nails digging into a rose stem. "Swiss roses have hooked thorns," Ava said, turning the tablet towards him and zooming in on his face in the video. Her voice was ice, just like some people's kindness, polished on the surface, but full of barbs underneath. Panic flickered in Caleb's eyes. He slammed his hand on the pause button, his watch clattering against the bed rail. "This video has to be fake, right? Don't watch this garbage. It's all fake. Listen, I've already contacted the best recovery clinic in Zurich for you." The sharp ping of a banking notification cut him off. Right in front of him, Ava tapped open the alert and read the final digits of the account number aloud. "The 8th of Mr. Vance's overseas accounts has been frozen. Need me to help you remember the password? The one you set with my birthday at that casino in Macau last year." The veins on the back of Caleb's hand bulged. The rose stem snapped in his palm. "The accounting department must have made a mistake. I just made a huge donation to a children's charity last month. I haven't been wasting your money. Ava, what's got into you lately?" "You mean the donation to that Shell Foundation that uses the identities of disadvantaged kids to launder money?" Ava swiped to a 9-panel image of Chloe decked out in $1 million worth of jewelry. "Your secretary certainly knows how to make stolen goods look like a high-fashion photo shoot." Caleb stumbled back, staring at Ava as if seeing a ghost. His eyes narrowed, focusing on me. "Ava, has this little snake been whispering lies in your ear? Don't believe him. He's manipulating you. You know my heart has always been yours." Ava smiled, a chilling, humorless stretch of her lips that made my skin crawl. Just then, the click-clack of Chloe's heels echoed down the hall. She breezed in with an exaggerated smile. "Ava, how's the recovery going? When can we finally go out and have some fun together?" "Go have fun with your Caleb," Ava said coolly. "I'm busy." Chloe's eyes widened. She stammered, "Ava, you're so funny. Caleb is your boyfriend, your future husband. How could I possibly?" Ava smiled and tilted her head. "Last Wednesday, the Grand Hyatt, room 2608. You were wearing a towel when you signed for a delivery of Cartier jewelry." Ava pulled up a screenshot from a security camera. The bite mark on Chloe's collarbone was perfectly clear. "Do you need me to play the audio of Caleb yelling for you to come back to the bathroom?" Chloe's face went white. With a sharp tug, she snapped her pearl necklace, the beads scattering and bouncing across the polished floor. "You know what, Ava? If you hadn't used your family's money to steal Caleb from me back then, we would have been together years ago. You're selfish and shameless, and I'm so sick of you." Ava just smiled. "You can keep yelling. Your entire family has just been fired. You're also being investigated for corporate embezzlement. I've already called the police." Chloe's legs gave out, and she crumpled to the floor. "Ava, you're so cruel," she whimpered. "How am I supposed to live?" The day the foreclosure notices were posted on Caleb's mansion, Ava was on the terrace, pruning that same bouquet of Swiss roses. She snipped off the last thorny leaf and handed me a thick legal document. Caleb had a complete breakdown. He's in a psychiatric hospital, Wrote you a 28-page apology letter. I gazed down at the McLaren being auctioned off on the street below. The red spray paint spelling out murderer was already starting to peel. That was the car he was driving when he took Ava out to the Serpent's Coil to celebrate their anniversary. The night of the crash, he confessed to tampering with the brakes, Ava said with a cold smile. I could only imagine the fate that awaited Chloe. She turned to face me, her smile softening. And now, my love, our story begins. I frowned. The madwoman was now aiming her cannons at me. The simple platinum band on her left ring finger glinted coldly. She had put it on herself after leaving the hospital. It was 2 sizes smaller than her actual wedding ring, squeezing her knuckle until it turned purple. Leo, my husband, I was wrong. When I was at my lowest, you were the one who stayed by my side, who never gave up on me. I held up a hand. It was what I was hired to do. She shook her head, tilting it as she looked at me. I had a dream. In the dream, I saw everything and everyone so clearly. After I fell into the coma, you were the only one who loved me, who protected me. And for these past 3 years, I did so many terrible things to you. I feel so guilty. Can we please start over? I shook my head. Ava, don't feel guilty. You're imagining things. I was only with you for the money. She froze for a second, then laughed. No, that's not true. If it was just for the money, you would have taken it and run when I was in the coma. You're joking, right? He's not joking. Arthur Sterling was back. He slapped a manila folder onto the dining table. This is a copy of the employment agreement from 3 years ago. He deliberately flipped it open to the signature page. My thumbprint was pressed over the job title, Emotional Support Provider. The date was 1 week before our wedding. Ava's pupils dilated, her lips trembling with disbelief. Dad, what are you talking about? What employment agreement? She snatched the papers, knocking over a bottle of her medication. The brown liquid spread across the clause that read, monthly salary, $50,000. Leo, you explained this to me. I pulled the divorce papers from a drawer and placed them on the table. It's true. You were diagnosed with severe depression back then, and your father hired me to be your companion. I was paid to do a job, so you don't need to feel guilty. I'll be moving out tonight. Ava just shook her head, muttering no, 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 before curling into a ball on the sofa, completely broken. Her father and I exchanged a sigh. I went to my room to pack my things. As I walked out the door, she suddenly called out, her voice small. Did you ever love me at all? I paused, then shook my head without looking back. No, just like you never loved me. Goodbye. On the 7th morning after I moved in my new rental, I opened my door to find a dozen large cardboard boxes stacked in the hallway. My name was scrawled across each one in red paint, the letters dripping like fresh blood. The top box was open, stuffed with the shirts I'd left at the mansion. On every single one, someone had drawn an EKG flatline with a black marker. Ava found me. A tremor went through me. I lifted my foot to kick the boxes over, but then I saw what was at the bottom of the pile, a wedding dress. It was the one she wore when we got married. Now, the skirt was cut into ragged strips like funeral banners. A cold sweat broke out on my back. I grabbed a broom from the corner and scanned the empty hallway, but I could hear the faint echo of high heels disappearing down the emergency stairwell. I knew this wasn't over. That night, when I went to take a shower, I found the bathroom mirror covered in pieces of clear tape. When I peeled one off, I saw hundreds of long strands of hair stuck underneath, Ava's hair. I could still smell her jasmine shampoo. In the center of the mirror, written in red lipstick, were the words Happy Anniversary, with a poorly drawn wedding ring underneath. I grabbed a shower head to blast the insane graffiti away, but the hot water instantly turned ice cold. Looking up, I saw the ventilation fan had been tampered with. A plastic bag filled with melting ice was hanging from it. A sticky note on the bag was dripping water onto the floor. It read, Husband, I remember you said I hate the cold. At 3 a.m, the sound of a power drill ripped through the silence. I grabbed a baseball bat and rushed out to see that the entire hallway wall had been drilled through, exposing live wires that sparked and hissed. Ava was squatting in the corner, wearing her cement-dusted wedding dress and holding the drill I'd left at the mansion. She turned and smiled at me. Honey, I'm making you an escape route, so you can get out faster if there's a fire. My temples throbbed with rage. I pulled out my phone to call 911. She suddenly tossed a folder at my feet. Inside was the deed to the entire apartment building, The owner's name was listed as Leo Rossi. She took a bite of an apple she was holding. I told the building manager I was renovating our new home. It's legal to make noise until sunrise, so calling the cops won't do you any good. The next day, I decided to move. As I dragged my suitcase to the building's entrance, I saw the community notice board was plastered with pictures of me. They were all candid shots, taken from a distance. Me buying instant noodles at the convenience store, me hanging laundry on the balcony, even a blurry silhouette of me getting up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night. Under each photo, printed in huge blood-red letters, reward for finding my husband. Call 555 XXXX. I fled to a new short-term rental like a fugitive. The moment I opened the door, a familiar perfume hit me. On the coffee table was a 3-tiered cake with housewarming, written in frosting, 3 half-burnt candles stuck in the top. Ava emerged from the bedroom, holding the electric razor I'd left behind. Honey, I figured you'd be missing some essentials. I packed you 20 toothbrushes. I snapped. I grabbed the cake and hurled it against the wall. Frosting splattered everywhere. She knelt, dipped a finger in the cream, and licked it. Then she pulled a box cutter from the folds of her dress and started dragging it across her arm. Honey, today marks 1,096 days of our marriage. How many cuts do you think is appropriate? Drops of blood mingled with the cream, looking like strawberry syrup. She actually started counting. 1, 2, 3. I lunged forward to grab a knife. She flipped it around and shoved it into my hand, then grabbed my fist and pressed it against her own chest. Stab me here. Do whatever you need to do to feel better. Terrified, I let go. The knife clattered to the floor. She just giggled and skipped into the kitchen, as if she were about to make me dinner. The landlord came by to collect the rent and froze in horror at the sight of Ava, in her blood-stained wedding dress, humming the wedding march while frying an egg. That night, I tried to pack my bags and run. The combination lock on my suitcase had been changed. After 3 wrong attempts, on the 4th try, I entered the date our divorce waiting period began. It clicked open. The suitcase was filled with a handwritten manuscript titled The Plan to Win Him Back. Every page was stamped with a bloody thumbprint. The last page had a drawing of handcuffs, done in lipstick, with a note beside it, stainless steel. Lifetime warranty. If he won't remarry me, he's never leaving. I went to a hardware store and bought a new padlock. When I got back, my entire apartment door was gone. Ava was sitting on the doorframe, swinging her legs, twirling the drill like a toy. Honey, the old door was so ugly. I ordered a new one with a fingerprint lock. It'll be here tomorrow. She hummed a little tune, the tattered hem of her wedding dress snagged on the old door, which was leaning against the wall, covered in photos from our wedding. I finally broke. Ava, I screamed. What the hell will it take for you to just sign the papers? She suddenly went still. She reached into the bodice of her dress and pulled out a U-disc, plugging it into the TV. A security video started playing. It was from the hospital. Me, kneeling in a smoke-filled room, giving her CPR after a small fire. Me, holding her hand while she was in the coma, talking to her for 3 hours straight. Me, finally falling asleep, my head resting on the edge of her bed. You don't remember any of this? She hit pause. The image froze on the exact moment I kissed her forehead. You taught me how to live, Leo. Are you going to teach me how to die now? She pulled a car key from her pocket and tossed it to me. Go to the garage. I got you a farewell present. The moment the garage door rolled up, my legs went so weak I almost collapsed. The wrecked luxury car had been perfectly restored, polished to a mirror shine. A wedding wreath was hanging from the front grille. In the passenger seat sat a small, ornate urn. My name was engraved on the lid. Inside, it was filled with the charred ashes of her wedding dress. Ava wrapped her arms around me from behind, resting her chin on my shoulder. Do you like it, honey? I polished it myself. Took me 3 days and 3 nights. Her breath was warm against my ear, exactly as it had been when she'd whispered to me by my mother's hospital bed, all those years ago. If you drive this car into me right now, she murmured, our ashes can be mixed together forever. I shoved her away and ran, her wild laughter echoing behind me. We were trapped in this twisted dance for months. Then, one day, Ava finally let go. She pulled a steel boning rod from her wedding dress and drew a crooked line on the dusty floor. Honey, this is the line of our fate. She pressed the sharp tip into the palm of her own hand. I go left, you go right. If we trace it 1,000 times, surely our paths will become parallel. Blood trickled down the line, forming a tiny river. She looked up, a grin splitting her face. Oops, I miscounted. Actually, it only takes 999 times. The day we signed the divorce papers, it was pouring rain. She threw a set of car keys at me. A brand new car was parked outside the courthouse. On the passenger seat was a cookie tin filled with all the secret photos she had taken of me over the years. As I stood there, stunned, in the rain, she revved her own car's engine and slammed it into a concrete planter. The police pulled a scorched metal box from the wreckage. Inside were our melted wedding rings and all the copies of the divorce papers she had ever torn up. The coroner said she was smiling in the final second before impact. The last words captured by the car's black box were, "Navigation complete. You have arrived at the end of a parallel world." That night, I don't know why, but I went back to my old apartment. I found she had already been there. The wallpaper was new. It was covered in charcoal sketches of my back. Each drawing was dated in the bottom right corner. The last one was dated for today. In the sketch, I was holding a black umbrella. Written across the canvas of the umbrella were the words, "Keep walking forward." This time, I promise I won't follow. Chloe Reed curled up in the corner of a mold-stained room in a low-rent tenement building. The shattered remains of her phone screen protector were embedded under her fingernails. 3 days ago, her streaming account was permanently banned for selling Caleb Vance's signature psychiatric ward straitjackets. The buyer of her final order had sent her a package containing a syringe filled with HIV-positive blood. The note read, "A gift for the other woman." Her closet was filled with 27 unopened luxury boxes, all fakes Caleb had given her before his arrest. When she cut up an Hermes bag to use as a liner for a makeshift toilet, she found a certificate of authenticity in the lining was also a fake. The crocodile leather was pressed from industrial chemical waste, with formaldehyde levels 47 times the legal limit. The seventh call from the plastic surgery clinic's debt collector came as Chloe was using a rusty pair of tweezers to pull an infected silicone implant out of her own nose. The face in the mirror was swollen like rising dough. The tip of her nose, which Caleb had once praised as pure as the first snow, was now oozing a greenish-yellow pus. While digging through a dumpster for expired antibiotics, she was ambushed by her mother and a pack of tabloid reporters. "We disowned her years ago," her mother shrieked for the cameras. "The girl's been a thief since she was a kid, had 3 abortions by the time she was 16. Loan sharks showed up next. The leader ground his cigarette out on her cheap lace top. "Caleb's pissing himself in the asylum. Want to go keep him company?" She ran barefoot into the storm, her mother's shrill laughter chasing her. "Throw those fake jewels far away. They're bad luck." A sanitation worker eventually found Chloe's body under the crosstown bridge. The police found a crumpled pregnancy test in her pocket. Scrawled all over it in angry letters were the words "Die, AV8, die." On the day of the winter solstice, her unclaimed ashes were scattered into the sludge of a sewage treatment plant. Epilogue 2. Caleb Vance was strapped to a specially designed medical bed. The red light of a surveillance camera blinked rhythmically on the ceiling. It was part of the smart monitoring system donated by Ava Sterling. It could precisely predict the onset of his seizures, just like the sensor he had installed in her car's brake system, designed to trigger a fault code the moment she pressed the pedal. The daily medication the nurses gave him had stained his gums blue, a known side effect of a new experimental drug unofficially called repentance. Half an hour after taking it, the car crash would materialize in his room, replaying in vivid auditory detail. The orderlies found Caleb had carved the name Ava into the walls over and over with his fingernails, swallowing the plaster dust. Ava had funded the entire wing. The previous patient in this room had been a scholar, and she had specifically requested the wall coverings, replicas of ancient sutras, be left untouched. He had clawed the passages about karma and retribution until they were illegible, just as he had altered the data on the car's event recorder. A new medical intern, reviewing his chart, noted that Caleb had 37 self-inflicted wounds. His foredrip was now being laced with a metallic powder, a side effect of a neural repair project also funded by Ava. The lead psychiatrist wrote in a research paper, "Patient exhibits severe metallohaptic hallucinations, claiming to feel gears turning within his blood vessels. The symptom was eerily similar to how Caleb once described modifying a supercar's engine. You have to make every component feel like part of a meat grinder. Eventually, Caleb was moved to a negative pressure isolation room, his weight having dropped to 84 pounds. The immersive therapy device, another of Ava's donations, played 2 videos on a constant loop. The first was a clip of his own face, laughing maniacally as he drove that night. The second was graphic footage of his 3 other children being beaten bloody by debt collectors. The device adjusted the volume based on his heart rate. Every time he tried to close his eyes, a distorted version of the wedding march would blast in his ears. When the crematorium attendant was processing his remains, he found a line of text laser-etched onto the femur bone, a final epitaph added through a special request by Avis Sterling. Here lies a great mechanic, whose masterpiece, a meat grinder of his own design, ultimately chewed up every last one of his bones. The end.